big boy slate, not messing around. So weird. It's the reason why we're coming on late. Y'all to piece it together. Typically, we come on 5 o'clock on the East Coast, right, for a normal size slate. But this is a normal size slate, if not a super size slate. But no game starts prior to 7:30, so that's why we're on a little bit later. Of course, we're going to take you guys up to 7:30. We yield to the crunch time crew. It's Tim and Keith and Roth, myself. The first portion of the Grinders Live show, it's me, Dean78904. You want to get all technical? That is the handle. We have the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatchewan, Canada. Out of the 77 people that reside there, TJ Zwarich is number one. What's up, TJ? How are things in your world?
Things are good. I was tired before this show. You fired me up with some ludicrous takes beforehand, and now saying there's 77 people in Saskatoon. It's just you're already getting under my skin here, Dean, and we've only been live for like a minute. What city do you live in?
Well, I'm currently in a suburb of Nashville, but I'm I'm all over the place. I can be your neighbor very quickly if I want to be.
How many people are in your suburb?
I've just moved here for like a couple weeks. That's all. Antioch, I believe. Antioch. It's a suburb of Nashville. Nashville's a big city. You're aware of Nashville, I'm sure. Music.
I'm aware of it. Yes.
Johnny Cash.
Weirdly enough, my dad sounds exactly like Johnny Cash. It's creepy, and I don't like it.
Oh yeah. Like
singing wise, yeah, like damn near identical.
Well, I mean, does he sing or no?
Yeah, he's very good at it. The population of Antioch, Tennessee is 86,000 people. The population of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan is 300,000 people. So get out of here, Dean. There's probably even better people in Antioch, Tennessee.
How many? So I imagine, isn't Saskatoon like big as far as per capita, per square foot? There's less people, right? Or am I wrong in assuming that?
No, Saskatoon itself is not very big. Or like the province of Saskatchewan, which is like our version of states, right? For those in the chat who don't know that, that's absolutely the case. Like Saskatchewan is the size of California, but has 1 million people total.
Okay, yeah, Saskatchewan is kind of sort of like it's like Montana essentially.
Or yeah, it's right above it, literally right above it.
Yeah, but I mean, like as far as like Montana it's a lot of space, not a lot of people there. It's kind of the point I was making. But yeah,
the coolest fun fact about Saskatchewan is there are 10 people for every one lake. We have 1 million people in the province, and there are 100,000 lakes in the province.
I did the math in my head before you even said 100,000. I went to UCF, so that was no problem for me. But I'm sure some people, just like some people in chat, didn't know a province was a state. We have a smarter chat than you think. Give him credit for, TJ. I know.
I mean, maybe I'm not the smart one because I didn't even know they had education in Florida.
Well, I mean, I won't go there, but it's touch and go these days. But hey, 10 games.
I'm allowed to say things like that may be mildly controversial just because I go, I'm Canadian. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just plead Canadian ignorance for sure. We were arguing pre-show about which conference is better, the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference, and it's completely insane that you even think it's a conversation. But and somehow I was outnumbered, like yourself and producer Steve was got a big old homer with the Knicks. Oh, they beat Denver, so therefore they must be the best team in the world ever. But it's clearly the West. It's not even close to playing with a conversation.
You are removing so much context from this conversation. I was agreeing and saying, especially after the trade deadline, yes, the West is the better division, but it's not this insane gap like you seem to be thinking it is, especially pre-trade deadline, before Kevin Durant was in the West, before Kyrie Irving was in the West. And we had all these guys in the East adding another good team there. All the teams in the East, they have better records. It's not like this was 5 years ago where the teams missing in the playoffs in the West were 500 and the 4 seeds in the East were 5 games under 500. It's nothing like that. These are still teams like 15 games over 500, 10 games over 500, playing good basketball. So it's not like the East is trash by any means. There's some good teams there.
There's the 28-32 Washington Wizards that are currently in the playoffs, but sure, they're great teams in the East. Good point.
You
and also
picked the 10 seed in the play-in game, and the 10 seed in the it's not like the Timberwolves are playing good basketball right now.
Yeah, but they're better than Washington. That's the whole point. Like Golden State.
I don't care. I'm not comparing 10 seeds, Dean. We were talking about the top 6.
Okay, the top 6, you're still getting crushed. Your only conversation you would have is like Boston and Milwaukee. Then you can fight. You can go to battle. But beyond that,
I'm sorry, I don't think the Kings and the Grizzlies are all that much better than the Knicks or the 76ers, or the Knicks, 76ers, or Cavs.
You neglected the Suns. I guess you're not aware they exist.
I do think the Suns are a lot better.
You're leaving out the 76ers with Embiid and Harden too?
They're fine.
They're up there, Dean.
They're fine. They're okay.
You got the 76ers, the Celtics, and the Bucks. Like the Celtics and the Bucks especially, they're just as good as any other team in the NBA.
We haven't seen Phoenix. We'll see it tomorrow. Durant comes back tomorrow night, and I think Phoenix is probably the favorite right now, but maybe they wouldn't be because they have to go through the West, and Boston just has to beat. I think Cleveland and Philly's fine. Those Final Four are pretty good. I'll give you that. There you go. I will compromise, but like 5.
I think it's arguable to say that 3 of the top 5 teams in the NBA are in the East.
Taylor and Chet's very upset. I'm coming at the Wizards. I apologize. And
Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, Denver, and Phoenix. Would we agree those are the top 5 teams? Maybe the Clippers over the 76ers. Would that be the arguable one?
Who are the 5 you said?
Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, Nuggets, and Suns.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Accurate. I think Memphis and Clippers, you can, and in Dallas, like maybe kind of sort of, but yeah. I'm talking depth though, but yeah, I agree.
So that's my point. Is it's a conversation. I think the West is better, especially since the trade deadline, because you added all these studs from the East to the Western Conference. But before that, it was pretty darn even, if not even a slight edge to the East. And now, because of Phoenix's new firepower, I definitely think it's an edge to the West, but it's close.
It's a good thing we're not having this conversation 3 weeks ago that I'd feel like a buffoon, but we're having it today where, it's fluid and things have changed and you can see.
Well, yeah, but the conversation was about records. Steve brought up that the Knicks have the 8th best record in the NBA despite being 6th in the Eastern Conference, which is an accurate statement.
So there's 2 boxers. One boxer is 6-0, and the other boxer is 4-2. Who's a better boxer?
Well, check the strength of schedule. See how much stronger the West one is.
Like if you're fighting like a 5-year-old.
The Sacramento Kings are the 3 seed, and the Memphis Grizzlies are the 2 seed. Like I don't know why you're chiming like this is some powerhouse. That division's wide open too. That conference is wide open too. Like it's the Kings and the Grizzlies in 2 and 3, man. This is not the Western Conference with Kobe and Shaq up there and Tim Duncan and David Robinson up there. The Grizzlies and the Kings are the 2 and the 3 seed.
I could not vote in the chat because I did not sign in to the YouTube. By the way, you're not doing your job here, TJ. Where are the likes at right now currently? And the people are probably not liking it because they did not tune in for First Take. They tuned in for Grinders Live, and they want us to talk about this 10-gamer. Big boy slate. We're going to dive in just a second, but tell the people, TJ, why should they hit the like button?
All right, everybody. The guy who can't even sign into his YouTube account to hit the like button is telling me, the guy who was in the chat 10 minutes before the show, bumping up the likes, getting us double-digit likes before the show even began, isn't doing his job. I'm filling in on hosting for Grinders Live for Dean tomorrow as the host. I might not give it back. I might just keep it. Hit the like button, everybody. This is free content. You're getting silly arguments, and now you're about to get some of the best DFS analysis in the industry. We're leaving the shenanigans behind. Time to break it down. Both Dean and I have been winning quite a bit of money lately, and we're ready to bring that to you as well. It's free content. It's sponsored by the good friends at Scores and Odds for this one. We got Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time coming up next. Let's hit this like button.
Yeah, we almost got there last night, TJ, but people don't care about last night. They don't want to talk about last night. They want to talk about today and today only. All the Pistons. We don't have to think about Detroit and 4 or 5 Pistons. Just absolutely ridiculous how they just annihilated the slate. And everybody you spend up for stunk, with the exception of, I guess, Jimmy Butler, I suppose. But all right. Overarching thoughts as far as this slate, no LeBron, obviously, opened things up for the Lakers. We assume Russell's not going to go as well. Anthony Davis, the world is his oyster. If he's going to give it a go tonight, that game's going to stay close. You got to assume that Davis is having himself a good time versus Memphis. Of course, there's some blowout risk as well. We're getting Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight. Once again, he's going to give it a go. Hopefully, he completes all 4 quarters. He's probable once again with his quad. He keeps exiting games for a variety of reasons of late. We got, man, Lou Dort looks pretty good in the absence of SGA. This Chris Dunn thing is really got me conflicted because he had a great outlier game, signed a 10-day there with Utah, and he's popping as one of the best plays on the slate. The absence of Clarkson, the absence of Sexton.
I had 50% of them that night.
That night?
Yeah.
Was that like a weekend? I don't think
that was Saturday. That was Saturday. I think I had 45% of Chris Dunn, and as you know, I've been like diving more into DraftKings lately, and now these last few days I've been ramping up my entry fees a little bit, playing bigger contests. But I have been a majority FanDuel player forever, and then I decided to start playing more on DraftKings. And I entered 150 in the 50-cent contest. Today there was 2 different 50-cent contests, so I entered 150 in each of them. But I finished first, second, and fourth.
Oh, nice.
And the top 2 teams were the top 2 teams in all of DraftKings. If I MME'd the $15 contest,
I saw
instead of the 50 cents, it was like it would have been like 150K.
Yeah, isn't that the worst when you retroactively look and say coulda, woulda, shoulda? I'm sure
it didn't hurt. Like it was like it honestly more so just gave me some confidence. It got me fired up because it's not like my bankroll suggested that I was able to play $2,500 MMEing a night in a $1,500 contest, in a $15 contest anyways. So not really like, it's like, oh, I was going to do that, but didn't. Nothing like that. So I'm already over it. On to the next.
Yeah. Last night, I had my best lineup in my biggest contest and I swapped it out for something else and would have took it down. But what are you going to do? That's the single entry stuff. Nothing crazy, but like 5K. But anyway,
two nights ago was a big single entry night for me on Sunday, and then last night just went to absolute crap with LaMelo Ball breaking his ankle and Jason Tatum getting ejected. Wasn't my night over there.
You should have known Tatum was going to get ejected because he was the odds boost on FanDuel. Whenever I'm told, Twitter tells me whenever a player is an odds boost, they're in cahoots with the sites because they don't make enough compensation.
Feed the odds boost curse.
Steve believes it's real.
See, I understand. Like, I don't believe it, but I'm more pro Steve here because Steve is suggesting that this is some kind of black magic. Like this is like a real curse, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas he's not one of the dummies claiming that Jason Tatum and bookies are in cahoots. You know what I mean? Steve's just implying that like this is some chaotic universal shit going on.
Exactly. It's not fixed like that. It's a curse though. I've taken like 4 odds boosts and none of them hit. One of them was
the
like
universe
Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown one week, and of course, the only time he didn't score a touchdown just happened to be his boost.
You can bet unders, right? So once you see the boost, bet the under.
Well, that's what I said. Fade the boosts. Fade the boosts. It's good. It's a good chance to win.
All right.
The spirits and the souls are always coming in there trying to stop the boost from happening. They're jumping up and they're swatting Jason Tatum's baskets off of the rim so that they don't go in. But let's start diving into this slate.
You want to see have too much fantasy movies for you, TJ.
Look at this room beside me, Dean. Of course, like, come on. You see all this stuff I got cooking behind me. But let's dive in because this slate, where all the value was on one team yesterday, for this slate, we have an absolute ton of like 4 to mid 5K value on about 5 different teams. And so I'm really going to try and target a few specific teams on this slate in bunches. But outside of a guy like Chris Dunn, weirdly enough, I'm not getting like I think I only have 5 players that I'm getting to over 30% today, which typically I usually have 5 or 6 players that I'm getting to at least 50% of, which is not the case today. So 10-game slate, it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited.
Can we play that game? Are you locked in? Can I guess? Can we play the feud?
Let's do it.
5 players at 30% or more?
It definitely might adjust if we get some more news here, but I'm hedging the Jamal Murray news. I'm currently playing him as out, but like not that aggressively. So I'm making sure to get to quite a bit of Bruce Brown and Reggie Jackson. I just feel like there's going to be more pivots from the cheap guys than there is if I get 20% Jamal Murray and he happens to be out. And so that's kind of how I'm playing it today.
Reggie Jackson 4-1 versus Houston. That seems really, really interesting. I wonder what our what if is going to say as far as how many minutes we project for him, because right now you just play a backup point. I'm going to say you have THT at 30% or more.
33, yeah. He is my 5th highest owned player.
I'm going to say Lou Dort is more than 30% owned for you.
No, in my latest build, I actually went quite underweight on Dort, which I don't actually love. It's just because there's so many other guys that I wanted to try and get overweight on. That's the other thing I'm planning on right now is projecting De'Aaron Fox is out. It's a left wrist injury against OKC. He's left-handed. He went partially through shoot around today. I'm just getting sitting vibes. And so I'm trying to ended up getting 27% Monk and 27% Sabonis. So
you're also you're backloading stuff, and like if it doesn't happen, you're gonna just go ahead and mass change your stuff anyway. That's
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Because those games are together, like I'm gonna end up getting an obscene amount of Isaiah Joe and Lou Dort if the Sacramento stuff doesn't go my way and the Denver stuff doesn't go my way, because basically all of that is getting swapped to OKC if those guys play.
All right, I'm pulling up our what if, by the way, and we'll go game by game in a second. We're giving Reggie Jackson only 22 minutes, which is kind of surprising. I thought it'd be a little higher than that, but yeah, I guess Brown would jump in.
Bruce Brown probably still starts at the 1, so that's where I'm at right now. Is I got 17% Reggie Jackson, 18% Bruce Brown. I'm trying to go just about even or a little bit above at 33% range with both Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma. Obviously without Porzingis and Monty Morris today. And then my biggest stand of the day by far, second would be is the lock button on Chris Dunn. If he's going to be 60% owned or 30% owned, depending on where everybody has him projected by the end of the day, I'm going to be having 100% of them. And so that's one of my big ones. And then the other one is 50% Damian Lillard. I'm just going to ride the wave. He's been playing so well today. He plays a poor defensive team again. Let's do it.
His player prop total earlier today is either 36.5 or 37.5, which is insanity. We haven't seen that all season long. We saw it the other day against Houston, and he beat that in the first half on a 6-foot jump shot, 3-pointer, with like somebody on him and 17 seconds on the shot clock. It was amazing watching. But all right, let's begin. Let's talk about it.
I can't remember if it was 60-point games or 70-point games, but he's third all time now. Wilt obviously has the obscene amount, and then second's Kobe. He's tied for third with MJ now.
I haven't seen that list, but that's kind of interesting, I suppose. But all right, first game out the gates. Lakers, Memphis, 230.5 is the total. Memphis close to a 10-point favorite, 9.5, 10, depending on where you're shopping. Two teams that play really fast. Obviously, Memphis plays really good defense as well. We kind of hinted at this one before. By the way, there's like 4 games at 7:30 right out the gate, 4 of the 10. So be ready early. Of course, you can backload, and there's stuff going on late. And you mentioned the Fox news, the Murray news. So things you want to be aware of when you're making lineups as well. But no LeBron. LeBron's going to be out for several weeks. D'Angelo Russell currently doubtful. We're guessing that Schroeder, Beasley, Troy Brown, Vanderbilt, and Davis is that starting lineup. And man, Davis should get really whatever he wants. Like Schroeder's going to shoot, Beasley's going to take his threes, but Vanderbilt not a big shooter, obviously. Memphis on the other side, good players, but they're fully healthy, with the exception of Steven Adams. He's not been playing for a while now, so their prices have adjusted to where they should be. As far as big spends on this slate, Anthony Davis, for me, I think is in the podium. Of course, this game could get ugly. I believe it's the front end of a back-to-back as well. So if this game gets ugly, maybe they get pulled a little bit early just to save them for tomorrow night. But, on paper, if this game stays close, it's probably because Davis is doing things. Where are you at as far as the Lakers?
As much as I'm backloading a lot of my lineups to get a lot of the Sacramento OKC game and Utah San Antonio Spur game, I'm not ignoring these early games either. I'm still getting at least one Laker in every single one of my lineups, as well as one Wizard at the same time slot in every one of my lineups today. for me, the way I kind of prioritize the Lakers today is Schroeder 1, Beasley 2, Davis 3, Vanderbilt 4. But I love all 4 of them. They're all phenomenal plays. I'm getting more than 25% of all 3 of them today. And then I am getting sprinkles of Austin Reeves and Troy Brown, about 10% of them, and then like the 3% range of Lonnie Walker Jr., just including them in the pool in a couple 50-cent teams. But this Lakers team, I think, is one of the top targets on the slate. I mentioned about 5 teams that I'm really going to be aggressively targeting from today, and the Lakers are the first one on the board.
Yeah, Schroeder getting 32% ownership, as is Vanderbilt coming off that monster game where he had like 60 rebounds or so. You know, he's not a guy that's going to shoot a ton. He'll get stuff around the basket, putbacks, dunks, but, you know, obviously not necessarily a great shooter. Beasley getting 25%. He's super reliant on that 3. If it's the 3's not going, forget it, go to bed. But he certainly can hit 6 or 7, and you're on your way, especially on DK with that bonus. Davis getting 16% ownership. Do you feel an obligation to run it back if you're playing multiple guys on the Lakers, or even Davis? Because on paper, none of these Memphis plays are great. Like Ja's fine. I always like the fact that, I hate the fact, I guess, he typically doesn't get the 36, 37, 38 minutes, maybe 33, 34, maybe less if he could, this game blows out. I guess if it blows out, forget it. Your lineup's dead anyway. Only 11% ownership, Bain 6%. So people aren't running him back, is the point. The Lakers are very popular. Memphis is not, understandably so. Are you putting any rules of, like, if I have 2 Lakers, run it back with 1 player on Memphis, or not necessarily?
No, it's a 10-game slate. We don't need to be doing that today, I don't think.
Yeah.
There's just so much value spread out throughout these teams. We're going to be able to find ways to get different with still playing near optimally today, especially just with us still not having De'Aaron Fox news or Jamal Murray news. Like, that's pretty crucial, and we don't have it yet. So I think there's going to be a lot of ways to play optimally. Now, I'm not Xing out this Memphis team out of my pool because they do have a 119.5 total, and we are playing a bunch of Lakers today. I'm not really worried about pairing them together because I know all of my lineups will have at least 1 Laker. And so when I get a Memphis player in, they're naturally going to be fitting in with them there. But Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain, Xavier Tillman, who I would swap to Brandon Clark if he starts, Dylan Brooks at $4,200 on DraftKings, and even Tyus Jones at $3,300 on DraftKings, who played 20 minutes in his last game. This is a guy who used to be priced at like $4,500, $5K in his backup role. All of them are in my player pool, but I'm not getting to anyone at more than 10%.
Tyus Jones, best backup point guard in the league, I think. Is that fair to say? It used to be Brunson, but now Brunson no longer a backup, obviously. I think it's Tyus
One
Jones.
of them. It's like the interesting thing with...
Does Brogdon count as a backup point guard? Because he's a closer. They only don't start him.
If it's Brogdon, if you count Brogdon, I would say he's probably better than Tyus. One of the things I love about Tyus is, like, Memphis's defensive efficiency goes up so much when he's on the floor versus Ja Morant. And so when Ja's off, they don't really lose that much because they have other guys like Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bain who are willing to chuck up shots on shots anyways. And so Ja's biggest issue is he's not the best defender. And so you put Tyus Jones out there as one of the better point guard defenders, and that team starts looking pretty spicy.
Yeah, there was that time last year when Ja was out for a bit, and the math nerds were saying that Memphis was better off without him, which was kind of interesting. To your point, basically, and I know you weren't saying that, but just talking about defense, swapping out.
Yeah, it's like they're definitely not better without him, but I don't think it's as big of a downgrade as people think. Obviously, offensively it is, but he's still a very good point guard at running the offense, and then he's a phenomenal defender as well. So I don't think it's as big of a downgrade as people think.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the next game, Milwaukee versus Brooklyn. Again, 10 gamers. Some of these games are going to be kind of sort of, I don't want to say throwaway, but not as interesting as others. 230.5 and, reasonably tight. Brooklyn only a 6.5 point dog here. Again, Giannis is back, and, I guess he's probable. We should say he's a probable in, Milwaukee sometimes, but they're guys that are probable all of a sudden become out. But as of right now, let's operate as if, Giannis is going to go. That seems like the most likely scenario. Wesley Matthews also unavailable. Brooklyn fully healthy with the exception of Ben Simmons, who may never see the court again for Brooklyn. Yeah, this game isn't great with Giannis back. Obviously, everybody from Milwaukee takes a step back, and of course, you go to fire on Giannis, especially at 6%. You're not getting a much less than that. I know it's a 10 gamer, and there's Jokic out there, and there's other big spends. Lillard, we'll talk about different position, but same principle. I don't like this game a lot. I like Bridges as an interesting tournament play, maybe pairing him with Giannis, but to me, this game is not all that interesting as a general thought. Tell me otherwise. 10 games. There's a lot of games.
No, not that interesting at all. On the Milwaukee side of things, the only player in my pool is Giannis. I'm getting a 5 to 10% range of him. He's just so expensive. And then on the Brooklyn side, I have a couple skinny stacks with Giannis playing Mikal Bridges or Claxton with Dinwiddie and Giannis, something like that. But really not a lot. Cam Johnson, I don't mind as a tournament play on his own. If he gets hot, he's got a big ceiling. And then the other player I do like quite a bit for tournaments is Cam Thomas, just because he's 5K, he's projecting for 5X. And so if he gets if this game stays close and he only plays 22 to 24 minutes, he probably still doesn't burn you. He's probably just like a meh spot in your lineup. But if this game happens to blow out and Brooklyn, this new team, isn't cohesive and Milwaukee all back together just stomps on him, then Cam Thomas is probably still going to be a guy who runs with that second unit right until close to the end of the game. And so I do think both the Cams, Cameron Johnson and Cam Thomas, both have ceilings today and are interesting for tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, the Bridges price up to 7.3K, but he's been clearly the biggest usage guy. You know, we saw a ceiling game out of him a couple of days ago. I think if his game stays close, it's probably because he's doing his thing. Yeah, obviously,
I'm basically only playing Bridges with Giannis and only playing Giannis with the Bridges.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I like that philosophy. Okay, let's move on. 10 gamer, lots of stuff to talk about. Chat, feel free, join the conversation. We like when you guys partake. Whatever's in your mind. What did we miss? What are we wrong about? What are we right about? Why didn't we talk about so and so? We'll throw them in the chat. We'll do our best to keep an eye on it and bring them to the conversation. Okay.
And because you are more tech savvy than Dean is, and you all know how to log into your YouTube accounts, let's take your hand, slide your mouse over, click that like button. If you're watching on your phone, click hide chat, then hit that like button, pop the chat back up. It does wonders for us. We only get seen. We only get paid. Our paychecks don't come. Andy Means says no. You guys don't get paid this month if we don't get enough likes. He conferred with Dan Bach. They had a meeting. I'm currently locked out of my work log. I can't get into it. It says access denied. They're not letting me back in unless we get 100 likes on this show.
That's unfortunate.
And so, please, Americans, I know it's a big capitalistic society over there. I need to get paid. Hit that like button for us.
Now you get a paycheck sent to you in the mail? That can't be true.
No, it's the same way as anybody else. I just said paycheck because it's a turn of phrase. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys had ejects in Canada. It hit Canada a couple years ago, I assume. Direct deposit.
Yeah, direct deposit. It's all there. Canada's way ahead of the curve in terms of America with money transferring. You guys have your Cash Apps or your Venmo and your things like that. We just e-transfer. We just email each other money and it goes directly straight from our bank account, or you can text it to people. You just enter their number and you can send them however money you want from your bank account.
Look at you. Well, how many gold medals did Canada win at the last Summer Olympics? How about that? Suck it.
I'm pretty sure they won more gold medals than USA in the last Winter Olympics.
Ben Johnson ain't walking through that
with
door.
a tenth of the population.
I mean, winter. You guys have what about your snow? We don't need snow in Florida. What do you want? You want us to learn the bobsled when it's 90 degrees outside? John Candy.
I'm just saying, you're trying to use Olympics on me. You got one half, we got the other half, and we have 1/10 of the population. So
yeah, but we don't. Come on, stop it. The Summer Olympics greater than a Winter Olympics. Like that's not a conversation, right? I guess it depends where you live in the world. I guess you value the Winter Olympics more. You could say it. It's fine. It's contrarian, I think.
I didn't say that. I don't try and put words in my mouth. I'm just saying you got your thing, we got our thing, and we shouldn't have a thing on you because we got 1/10 of the population.
Fair enough. You're already giving yourself an excuse. That's like right from the start. Chicago faces Toronto, two mediocre teams in the East, the Eastern Conference, of course, the inferior conference. 219.5 is the total. Toronto is a 5-point favorite. Your Toronto Raptors are taking on the Chicago Bulls. As far as who's in and who's out in this contest, I believe everybody's like, Goran Dragic, whatever, who cares? FVV, Freddie VanVleet is back from whatever. I don't know what he was dealing with, but he's back from his personal issue. They waived Juancho. No Juancho Hernan-Gomez. And they did sign Will Barton. So all is going to be good in Toronto, soon enough for sure. Toronto and Chicago. DeMar DeRozan revenge game?
Before I even dive into the game, I would want to just take notice that when we were having our East versus West conversation, and to be clear, let's make sure that you hammered home that we're talking for the moment, not the past, not the future. So and you scoffed at me when I said Toronto right now is as good as the Golden State Warriors. Well, guess what, Dean? Toronto right now is a lot better than the Golden State Warriors without Steph Curry. The Toronto Raptors with a starting center this season, with a 7-footer starting at the center position, i.e. not Pascal Siakam, has 107 defensive rating on the year. That has improved even since Jakob Poeltl has arrived. That would put them number 1 in the NBA in defense. So this is no longer a good matchup, as you can see by Chicago only it's over a 35-game sample size because they were starting Christian Koloko for the first half of the year. So with Christian Koloko, they had a 1-0
minutes.
With Koloko starting as center, the team had 109 defensive rating, which would put them tops in the NBA.
Okay.
Anyways, they now have a very good defensive center in Jakob Poeltl, so that explains why the Chicago Bulls have a team total of 107.5 today, which is the lowest on the entire slate, Dean, because this is a phenomenal defensive team they're playing. So it's really just DeMar DeRozan who is underpriced on DraftKings for me. I don't want to touch anybody else because this isn't a good matchup and it's a 10-game slate. Maybe Zach LaVine on Fanduel, but on Fanduel, I'm probably not playing a single bull, just going to X them all out. And then on the Toronto side of things, Jakob Poeltl and OG Anunoby are underpriced. And so for what their ceilings are in tournaments. And so the two of them, I'm going to be sprinkling in. Siakam, I think, is okay if you want to sprinkle in tournaments, but that would be it because all these other guys are priced up to a point that they're priced up like someone isn't in the lineup, but they're all back now.
Yeah, nobody currently getting more than 10% ownership on DK. It's DeRozan. Like you said, they're all playing. Everybody's healthy for Chicago. The matchup's not particularly great. I do like that price, though. We paid up to $9K for DeRozan in the past, 7-7, bit of a discount, so it's kind of baked in. I'm fine with it if I land on it. I don't know. How vengeful is DeRozan? Does he have a little bit of John Wick in him? I don't know. What are his thoughts about I feel like he was sad when he left Toronto. Wasn't he like bummed that he was not in the championship team? Like I assume he was. Sent to San Antonio of all places.
Yeah, he was bummed. I think he's over it now, but I don't think it's even as much vengefulness as this game is in Toronto, and he's still the Raptors' all-time franchise leading scorer. So I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be going into Toronto and. No, Vince just quit and then wasn't good at basketball and just sat games because he didn't want to play for the last year and a half he was there and then went to the Nets.
You hate Vince Carter.
I'm over it now as an adult, but I was a kid and he was my favorite player, so I was crushed when it happened. But yeah, he just did his whole I don't want to play basketball anymore thing. I don't want to dunk anymore. Why would I dunk? I don't want to dunk anymore. And then he didn't dunk. He didn't dunk for his entire last year as a Toronto Raptor. And then his first game in New Jersey, he threw down like 3 windmills. Anyways, Vince Carter put up a heck of a career, and I think he matured a lot as he grew in the NBA. And I've actually met people who met him, and they've said he's super nice. So I'm over the Vince Carter thing, but it did crush me when I was a kid. Anyways, I do think DeMar DeRozan's going to try and put on a show today in Toronto. I think, but it's just like he's going to have OG Anunoby guarding him the whole game. When OG Anunoby's off, he's going to have Scotty Barnes on him. Both these guys are longer than him, just as quick as him. So it's not going to be easy. He'd be the only one on Chicago I'd play. You can mix in OG and Poeltl in tournaments. That's about it. Let's move on to the next one.
I was pulling up. I was curious. I want to see the rest of the list for Toronto. the all-time leading scorers. We
I
don't
think
top it.
Lowry's second. I think Lowry's second. Bosch is third. Carter's fourth.
Yes. And who's fifth? He's still playing for them. Pascal, the triangle.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense that it's Pascal.
Dude, it's wild. Andre Bargnani's sixth. What? I didn't realize he played that long.
He put up numbers for the first few years he was there. He was just like a liability of all liabilities defensively.
So Russell officially out. That's where our projections are saying D'Angelo Russell for the Lakers. No surprise there. He was doubtful. Giannis, what it's worth, he remains probable. Stay tuned on that. But we're going to operate as if Giannis is a go. Mo Pete in the top 10 as well. Shout out Mo Pete. Shout out Michigan State, I believe. Washington is going to play the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks.
Mo Pete hit one of the coolest game winners you'll ever see in your entire life.
It's the one where the other team threw the ball away. It got deflected.
The Wizards player threw the ball up in the air to like waste the last 3 seconds of the game, and then it came down before the clock ended. He caught it like up as high as he could. One quick pump while in the air, fired it from like 35 feet and drilled it.
Yep. Yeah, he was in the left corner. It was ridiculous.
I was watching that game on TV when it happened. I remember that.
Can producer Steve make it happen? Can he show the people what that play was? It's amazing. We both remember that, but that was truly one of the most ridiculous. I can't imagine having a wager on the other side. What's more tilting than that one? But all right, Washington's facing Atlanta. 234 is the total. Atlanta is a 7-point favorite here. The coaching debut is expected for Quinn Snyder tonight for Atlanta, taking over, signing a 5-year deal for the Hawks. As far as who's in and who's out in this game, it's not a lot, right? Atlanta is fully healthy. Washington, though, the other side, that's the big deal because a lot of Wizards are popping as of right now. Monte Morris is not going to give it a go. Porzingis, he's got a knee, so he can't play. We're expecting DeLon Wright, the revenge DeLon Wright, to draw the start with Bradley Beal, Avdia, Kuzma, and Daniel Gafford, who's kind of sort of somewhat chalky, which I don't feel great about, but I get it as far as a math perspective. Where are you at as far as Washington? Because they are popping a good bit, and I don't know, as a general thought, not to continue the theme of me taking shots at Washington. They're fine, but I don't want to be over the field in them, I don't think.
I'm going to be slightly over the field on most of these guys, but not aggressively. Let's cover Atlanta first, because Atlanta, you can play Trae Young, you can play DeJounte Murray, especially if you're playing multiple Wizards. I'm not playing anybody else on Atlanta today. From the Wizard side of things, though, I think Kyle Kuzma is one of the better plays on the slate. I think he's a great cash game play. Same with Bradley Beal. I'd probably want to make sure I have one of those guys in cash games. Daniel Gafford is one of the better center value plays on the slate. DeLon Wright is, I think, a very good value point guard today in 150 max. I'm sprinkling in Jordan Goodwin as well as Kendrick Nunn, just because those are 2 3K guys that you never know how this game could go. They could 10x their salaries. I'm very, very pro somewhat big spread, taking a backup who's a good fantasy point per minute producer. I've been doing that a lot lately on DraftKings, not so much on Fanduel, because on Fanduel, you don't really get these guys priced all the way at minimum salary. But on DraftKings, you get a lot of players who are in the 3K range who, if they happen to get 3, 4, 5 more minutes more than their projection, they could absolutely smash the slate. And I think these 2 backup point guards are that today. And so Goodwin and Kendrick Nunn are 2 guys that are going to have in my pool in small capacities, but the priorities are going to be Kuzma, Beal, and Avdia, with Kuzma and Beal, priority 1, and then priority 2 is Avdia and Gafford, priority 3 is DeLon Wright, and then the guard sprinkles.
Goodwin and Kendrick Nunn, like I hear what you're saying, but in a 10-game slate, I have a hard time doing that. But you are running 150. You understand what you're getting into.
And technically, I'm running 300 because there was 2 different 50-cent contests. And so I entered 150 max in both of them.
I thought your wife all of a sudden became a big fan of basketball in the last hour or so. But
she's been actually ever since we've been together, just because of how heavy I am into DFS, she's actually involved in watching the games with me and cheer. She's a Nuggets fan. But no, she doesn't play.
Fair enough.
She made an account for when we were at the live final, so if she could partake in the games, but that's about it.
Sure, yeah, why not? And whatever sort of deposit bonus you can get, take advantage of those whenever you can get them. to your point about like, yeah, guys that are like 3-7, 3-8 in Fanduel are just general rules, not as useful as guys that are 3-1, 3-2 on DK, just the way roster construction works. And I'm sure you're learning that, you're figuring that out, jumping over from predominantly playing on Fanduel to more so playing on DK. All right. Anything else of note here? I would just throw out Capella. I think Capella is worth a look. And, some of Gobert's best years were under the tutelage of Quinn Snyder. I have no idea if Quinn Snyder's even giving any like new coaching tips just coming in. And has he even ran a practice? I don't know. But, maybe Capella gets 31, 32 minutes. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But the matchup against Washington is perfectly fine. I don't mind picking on Gafford. And Capella is cheap enough, and he's a guy that can put up like 15, 15, and you get on the right side of stocks. You get 15, 15, and 5, and that's a full smash. But, I understand there's a pile of centers. But I think Capella should be in the pool at least.
I'm very interested in watching Capella's minutes today. But because this is Snyder's first game, I don't know if he's ran a practice yet. I don't think we're going to see rotation changes. Now, I could totally be wrong, but I don't think we're going to see a rotation change yet. And he's played 19 minutes last game, 20 minutes the game before, 25 the game before that. Hasn't played over 30 minutes since December 5th. December 11th was the last time he played over 30 minutes. So I'm going to wait and see if he starts gathering more minutes with Snyder, but on a 10-game slate, I'm not going to do it yet.
It's kind of baked into at 5-6 because we paid like mid-6s before for him. But yeah, there's a bit of you got to tell yourself a story also. But I think there's a chance he plays close to 28, 29. And again,
just like right now, Okongwu is playing more minutes because he's been better.
That's another part of the story.
Okongwu is I would actually rather play Okongwu than Capella.
Yeah, I get both arguments. I'm fine with both sides of it. Okay, let's move on. We're done with the 7:30 games. Denver versus Houston, 232 is the total. Denver is an 11-point favorite. Jamal Murray's got that knee. I don't think they play tomorrow, so this is an island game for Denver. This feels like a game where if they want to rest Jamal Murray, they certainly can. The Rockets are horrific. They're on a big losing streak. I think at least 9 in a row. Is it 15? Or am I thinking of San Antonio? All the teams in the Tankathon, like combined, have lost like 30 games. It's super impressive. Houston's lost 9 in a row. Yeah, San Antonio's lost 16 in a row. And also Denver's 5 games up on the 2 spot in the West. They really should be in cruise control coming down to the wire. We're not thinking about that stuff just yet. Still 20, 21, 22, depending on games left in the season. Matchup against Houston is spectacular. We saw what Dame did against them. We saw what Clay did against them. They give up the most 3-pointers to opponents by far. I think 1.5 made threes is more than the second worst teams. Here in the legal sports book, I bet some of the alt stuff as far as Denver players making threes, KCP, Gordon. I bet Jokic to make 1 3. Yeah, I'm on the Denver threes today because they're going to make a bunch of threes because Houston's horrific. Do we have the salary?
One, but only one. Which are you choosing? Tax-free DFS or legal sports betting? Just for you personally.
Oh man, that's tough. That's tricky. I'm messing with taxes now, which is a lot of fun. The sports gambling is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying that, and the answer is probably tax-free DFS, but for a fun, if I'm stressing fun, it's probably sports gambling. Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
I don't know. I mean, that's the smart answer is probably tax-free DFS, but I want a sports gamble too. Talk to me about Denver, and again, speculate as far as Murray in and out. We do have an if-then. If Murray happens to be out, and it seems like, again, a good spot if you want to rest him, by all means. Jokic will look even better. His projection will jump to 62 DK points. Love Jokic, like him as is, but love him if Murray's out. Like you said, Brown, we assume he'll jump in the starting lineup, projecting for 32 minutes, 29 DK points. Gordon would get a bit of a bump, kind of a mid-play when you consider his price. Talk about Denver.
So I'm playing this right now as if Jamal Murray will be out. Now, the reason for that isn't because I have a strong lean that he's going to be out outside of exactly what you said. It's Houston. Houston's trash. It would make sense to rest him in this spot. But outside of that, the reason I'm doing it is because the same time frame of these games is OKC and Sacramento. So if I play this like Jamal Murray is out, I get to 20% Bruce Brown, 20% Nikola Jokic, 20% Reggie Jackson, 10% Aaron Gordon. Now, if Jamal Murray plays, the Jokic stuff and the Aaron Gordon stuff, I'm not that aggressively overweight on them. They're good, pretty good plays regardless. Not as good, but pretty good plays regardless. Jokic could put up 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists in, I was going to say 3 quarters, but no, he could do it at half. He's been doing that at half. He's got I think 2 of the 3 fastest, if not the 2 fastest triple doubles in NBA history. So Jokic is like my favorites. I feel like a lot of the studs have blowout risk or just like something we're not liking about them today. Of the above 11K studs, I think he's my second favorite to Lillard. I like him more than Giannis. If I'm choosing one between him and Giannis, it's Jokic. And then I am getting 20% Brown, 20% Reggie Jackson because, like I said, it's at the same time as that OKC game. If those guys are out, I will just be getting a ton of Isaiah Joe and a lot more Luguentz Dort.
I think I like Jokic more than Lillard, if for no other reason. The pivots.
Kevin Porter Jr. is ruled out. Just got that.
Who's this?
Kevin Porter Jr. just got ruled out.
Okay. Green we're expecting back, right? I just think the pivots at point guard. Yeah, like Dunn, you talked about, Schroeder, you talked about, are just better than, I don't know, Gafford. I think Gafford's fine, but I don't love Gafford. There's a chance Vanderbilt doesn't do anything today. He doesn't score a lot. He has those games, but his floor is rough. There's a chance that game blows out versus Memphis. I just feel better about the guard pivots for Lillard than I do about the center pivots, at least the floor stuff. Of course, there's so many good center options. But all right, your thoughts as far as Houston, man. The
reason why I agree and I disagree, but the reason why I'm so heavy on a guy like Lillard is not so much because of the cheap pivots off of Jokic, but the other expensive pivots off of Jokic. I want to get to a lot of Sabonis because I'm assuming I'm playing this as De'Aaron Fox is going to be out. I want to get to a lot of Sabonis, and I want to get to a lot of Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that's a good counter argument, and I like those guys too, plenty. Houston, this is not a tanking thing anymore. Like they benched Şengün in the second half for the fourth quarter in multiple games. Coach kind of hinted at defensive reasons, but they're playing Jabari Smith 37 minutes. He's got a minus 27 and he stinks. But whatever. I don't know what's going on there. I still think there's a chance Şengün has a game where they just let him go and play 35 minutes. And this is Houston's championship, right? Playing at home versus the best team in basketball record-wise. I think Denver's the best team in basketball record-wise. At least they are in the West, which we know is the superior conference. Maybe they let Şengün go, and his price has come down a bit. Of course, Şengün can get 2 or 3 quick fouls against Jokic as well. I think he's interesting for tournaments. Just it's not hard to get over the field on that. And I assume he's going to get those minutes back soon. Why not tonight? They can't get any. They're locked in, essentially locked in right to their spot. First 3 teams have the best chance as far as ping pong balls. They have 13 wins. The team that's fourth, the one that has the best chance to overtake them, is Charlotte, and they have 7 more wins. The Rockets ain't winning 7 more times this year. So they're locked in. There's no way to get out of that spot. That's the point is they don't have to tank. There's no more tanking necessary. So talk about the Rockets. Green is back as well. Blowout opportunity, but overall I don't really like Houston, but I think there's a couple pieces that are interesting for tournaments.
I think KJ Martin is interesting for tournaments. He's been playing big minutes and putting up really good games lately. And the only other Houston player I have in my pool is somebody that is always one of my favorite tournament value plays, regardless of the slate, and that's Terry Eason.
Yeah, I didn't mention it. I should have mentioned it. Tate is not playing basketball tonight, so that doesn't hurt Eason, right? He's also a guy that can get things done in junk time.
That's one of the reasons why I had such a good weekend. Is Saturday was a 5% owned Chris Dunn, and I had 45%, and Sunday was a 5% owned Terry Eason, and I had 40%.
So Tari Eason, just worth noting, much better play on DK than he is on FanDuel. FanDuel 5.5, 4K on DK. I imagine you are not going to be isolating him on FanDuel at 5.5, but on DK, 4K looks really, really solid. Tari Eason, 1.05 fantasy points per minute. He's a guy that could excel or take advantage of potential Şengün getting benched, Şengün potentially getting in foul trouble. So there you go. Certainly, and yeah, this game gets squirrely. They have other players that they can mop up, but I think he would mop up at least for a bit. Then they would bring in like Garuba or Boban or something like that. Anything else of note, or shall we move on?
Let's keep it going, and we got a big one to talk about next, and then the game after that, I think we're just going to be able to swipe right through.
Yeah, Sacramento, OKC, they're running this one back. This is one of those deals where they just played. They're going to play again. 235 is the total 4-point line as far as OKC being dogs here versus Sacramento. The big deal is that De'Aaron Fox currently is questionable. We don't know if he's going to play or not. As far as OKC, they're without their best player in SGA. Lindy Waters, was he down in the G League? I know he played the last game. They sent him down, so he's not back. Is that what's going on here? Is he available for this game? Not that you're necessarily playing Lindy Waters, but
he's projected to play 14 minutes.
Okay, so he's back? Okay.
He's still there, I think, yeah.
Okay. I thought he was in the G League. My bad. I thought they sent him down in between games. But, yeah, so tell me your strategy as far as Fox. If Fox doesn't go, we might see Davion Mitchell draw the start. He's all the way back down to 3K still minimum on DK. Now, we know how that turns out sometimes. Davion Mitchell, minutes equal money. Not all minutes are created equal. And Davion Mitchell's minutes are created poorly, but he is 3K. So, I guess theoretically, he's somebody you can consider. The more interesting, the sexier play is probably Malik Monk. Terrence Davis maybe is like Malik Monk, the spinoff of the spinoff, I suppose. And then you mentioned Sabonis. Sabonis looks awesome here. OKC is rough inside. They give up the most rebounds to opponents total per game. Sabonis is a rebounding machine. He's a double-double machine, triple-double threat any given night. Yeah, talk about the Kings. And are you setting yourself up, if you're assuming Fox is out, like you said before, I assume you're getting yourself a ton of Sabonis.
Yeah, I have about 30% Sabonis right now. Not too much, just because I am still trying to get close to 30% Davis, close to 20% Jokic. But I got about 30% Sabonis right now, 30% Malik Monk, two of my favorite plays on the slate. Both of them are currently in my main single entry lineup. About 15 to 20% Terrence Davis, sprinkling in Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, Trey Lyles, Davion Mitchell, just because of this game environment and because of how high usage of a guy De'Aaron Fox is. And then the team I am slightly underweight on is OKC. Now, it's not because I don't love OKC, and I'm not even that much underweight. I have like 18% Dort and like 18% Isaiah Joe. So it's not like I'm fading these guys. But the reason why I'm currently underweight to them right now is just because I'm playing Jamal Murray to be out. I'm playing De'Aaron Fox to be out. If those guys happen to be in, I can make the pivots to OKC. I can swap to Isaiah Joe. I can swap to Luguentz Dort. Whereas if those guys are out, well, these guys wouldn't be projected to be. If we knew those guys were out already, Dort wouldn't be a 32% owned today. Isaiah Joe wouldn't be 20 to 25% owned today. That's probably appropriately owned for what they should be for the current state of this slate. But assuming those guys are out, they're not going to be as strong of plays because there are going to be other equally strong plays, and therefore they shouldn't be that highly owned. And then if those guys happen to be in, I can still swap to those OKC players, and I'm would probably end up being overweight on them regardless.
I like Dort a good bit in this game. I love Sabonis. I mean, he's currently 5%, but of course that will change if Fox is rolled out. And like, oh, by the way, if Fox plays, like people aren't thinking the way of like, hey, maybe I just roster Fox. And again, this stuff might change a little bit, but he's currently, have you seen the ownership on De'Aaron Fox right now? It's 1%. One.
Yeah, and he's been putting up like a 5x4 lately. So if he happens to be in, he's definitely somebody that I'm going to try and swap around, get like 5 to 10% of. So even though it's not that much, it's still going to be way over the field.
We saw them do that goofy thing with OKC. They kind of swapped their lineup at halftime. Isaiah Joe did not start the second half. He struggled in the first half. I believe he got there eventually. They bumped him up to
That was
4-4.
the same thing that happened on Sunday to Ty Washington. He was like 1 for 6 in the first half. It was the starter and a chalk value for Houston, had 2.5 points in the first half, something like that. And then got benched to start the second half and then ended up finishing with like 23 fantasy points.
Michael in chat. I'm just getting a couple questions in chat as well. Do we think Sengun is a good tournament play? I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. But theoretically, especially if like a big tournament, I think Sengun's pretty interesting. Like nobody's going to own him, getting burned, getting benched. But like, there's no reason you should not try to develop Sengun. That's your best player basically going forward. And again, there's no more tanking necessary. It's done. The job is over. Do we have a projection for Brown if Murray is out? We do. I gave it up before. If you guys are premium members, one of the things you get, and tons of things you get, obviously. The what if projections, these will post on Lineup HQ once the news comes out, but we have it ready to go. Brown's projection would be, 29 DK points in 32 minutes, 30 FanDuel points.
Damn, De'Aaron Fox just got ruled out.
Well, you wanted that to come out later, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like it's his left wrist and he's left-handed. I didn't think he was going to be playing, so let's run through this quick. It's basically, I think what I currently have now is just basically what it should be. But now that we know this news, I might try and get even more overweight on these guys. Domantas Sabonis is probably the best spend up on the slate now. Which makes me so sad because I was planning on playing so much of him. We were projecting him for 5% ownership. But I think Sabonis is probably the best spend up option on the slate now.
Oh, he's a little bit cheaper than you're getting a savings off of Jokic. You're getting a savings off of
Davis.
So.
He's $9,800 on DraftKings. He's got power forward eligibility on FanDuel. My current DraftKings lineup is sitting there with Sabonis, Terrence Davis, and Malik Monk. I thought I was going to be being so sneaky.
Monk's going to be really popular. So not to cut you off, but here's our what if projections. Now this is happening. It's playing out. But we had Monk playing 25 minutes, just 25 minutes. It could be more than that, actually. In 31 DK points, 29 FanDuel. It's a positive value. Sabonis getting 50 DK points, 47 FanDuel. Herter's a positive value, and Murray's a positive value, but nothing special, nothing great. Mid-20s, mid to high 20s. Davion Mitchell, our projections 20 DK points. I don't think that cuts it on a 10-game slate. Like your 3K guy gets 20 points, no more, no less. Probably doesn't destroy you, assuming your big spends really, really smash. But, David Mitchell, 3-and-D guy with a week 3, right? That's what he is. Just wanted to note that. Davis, we're still just
really good at the whole defense thing, though. It doesn't help us for our purposes, but really good at the whole defense thing.
Good defender, yeah. Former lottery picks, a lot of promise on him, and hasn't quite got there. He's an interesting pivot off of Dunn, but no, I mean he's going to be. He plays before him anyway. If you're just trying to play results or try to catch up or be different. So the Kings are going to be popular. Long story short, this game's going to be popular. Dort on the other side. I like Williams as well. Jalen, Jalen Williams is pretty solid. Giddey for sure. Can put him a 50 burger, wouldn't shock me. Anything else we should mention here before we move on?
Somebody just said in chat, Davion Mitchell, Chris Dunn, Spider-Man meme. No. Davion Mitchell is one of the poorer point per minute producers in the NBA and is a legitimate lockdown defender. Chris Dunn constantly reaches, gets the odd steal, but is actually a pretty terrible defender because of how often he gambles and is a really good point per minute producer, like a really, really good point per minute producer.
This year he's been good in a 2-game sample, but traditionally his per 36 is 11 points, 8 assists, a couple steals. He's a good defender. Yeah, like you said, as far as steals, good shot guy.
That's fantastic for a 3K guy.
It's not fantastic. 11 and 8 is fantastic for a per 36.
And how many rebounds?
4.
Yeah, that's and a couple and a steal or 2. That's like 30 fantasy points. That's 10x.
Okay, but you're assuming he's playing 36 minutes, and if that's 30 fantasy points in 36 minutes, it's not even a fantasy point per minute guy. That's not fantastic. It's fine. It's not fantastic.
For a 3K guy, it is.
Well, yes, but then again, I don't know. Dunn might play 24 minutes tonight, and to just assume he's going to duplicate what we did the other night, I think that our Dunn.
I don't think we need 40 points from him, though.
We need at least
Like
25,
yeah, well, exactly. But then he's
which is
I think
assumed, just given to him.
it's a very low projection for him we have on him right now. It's a very safe projection we have on him right now. And it's
As it
at
should
what,
be.
like
Because
20,
last year
28,
was an outlier.
26? Well, yeah, but his safe projection is still the best value on the slate.
Yeah,
His ceiling is by far the best, and his safe projection is better than anybody else on the slate.
He wasn't in the lead 10 days ago.
He's the only player on the slate who's projected for over 7 point per dollar.
Yeah, well, that's also because he's so cheap. But yeah,
that's my point. That's why he's such a great play.
Indiana plays Dallas. 237 is the total. Is this game you want to swipe right on? Dallas is a 9-point favorite. I had some people in chat talking about Miles Turner. Is Miles Turner a good play? I don't know how many minutes he's going to play, but Maxi Kleber expected back. That should bolster their rebounding to some degree. Dallas is a weak rebounding team. They play really slow. They've been playing faster with Kyrie. They kind of sort of had to because they couldn't go any slower. 5-6 game sample, they're middle of the pack as far as pace. Their defense, not spectacular. Indiana, Dallas. There's Luka Doncic in this game. Are we just ignoring him? Is this game you want to swipe right on, or is it another game you're talking about?
No, this is the game. You can play Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is always in play on the Indiana side. Miles Turner is fine for like a 5 to 10% in tournaments. And I think Tyrese Halliburton is actually a very interesting tournament play. But still, I'm not going to be getting to a ton of these guys. Let's talk about San Antonio and Utah.
Wow, that was quick. Ownership-wise, for what it's worth, 15% to Luka. Different position. You clearly have already said a couple times you prefer Lillard over Luka. Obviously, I think Luka's ceiling is hit a little bit with the arrival of Kyrie. Halliburton you can play, but I don't love this matchup, but he's fine. But there's no reason that says that Halliburton's the best guard today. Certainly could be, I suppose. And as far as Turner, he's okay at 7-4. Homecoming game, I guess. He's from the state, at least the state of Texas, big state. Not sure if he's from Dallas. I do not know that. Somebody in chat was talking about it. But all right, we will move on. We'll talk about which game did you want to talk about next? San Antonio and Utah. Oh, the aforementioned Chris Dunn, who's 40% projected owned. That might change a little bit with the Sacramento stuff. It might come down, not sure. And I get it. When we're only projecting him for 24 minutes, we're not even projecting them to start. The absence of Clark.
I'm so happy. I'm actually very happy he's not starting.
Well, it's not official. It's just a projection. We're projecting.
That's what I said. I said that on the morning grind with Stevie last night. I assumed they were going to start Agbaji. That's why it threw me off a little bit when I saw Dunn in there, because like Clarkson was the 2. Clarkson wasn't the 1. Taylor Horton-Tucker is the 1 playing point guard right now. And so Dunn is going to be the backup point guard, run the second unit, shoot all the shots, and then hopefully close. But I think you're kind of looking at, if he doesn't close, then he probably just hits his projection and is a very good value. If he does close, that's when you're looking at another 10x game.
Yeah, I'm looking at his historical usage, Chris Dunn, because he's not a guy that shoots a lot historically. So this year in a 2-game sample, his usage is 26%. With Portland, 18%. With Atlanta, 16%. With Chicago, 14%, 20%. Like, look, I understand the matchup.
He was starting in Chicago. Had other players in this team. Who is he going to be playing with in that second unit? He's going to be going on the court playing with.
Yeah, that's a good counterpoint.
Fontecchio, Udoka, Azubuike, Rudy Gay is going to be the only other guy out there shooting shots on that second unit.
Point counterpoint. That's a good counterpoint.
And he's still fighting for that. He's fighting for that second 10-day contract. He's fighting for that rest of the season.
He's motivated.
I agree. Contract.
I'm conflicted.
I have him in 100% of my lineups, and I'm playing 320 lineups.
Yeah, I respect. And I'm somebody that's never afraid to take a stand and play 100% of somebody, and that's that. But we'll move on. I'm just a little bit conflicted on him, but I get it. The clicking the lock button there, but it's a 10-game slate, and this guy's not starting, and he's going to be 40% owned. And it's the Spurs also. The Spurs, the worst defense in basketball.
It's about 30% too low.
I hear you. It's an interesting conversation, and to be fair, I'm not saying you're wrong. And I may end up with more than the field begrudgingly. I prefer.
Yeah,
THT.
I'm not trying to be like bullish against you here. I'm just like bullish on Chris Dunn today. Like I'm just fired up. All the Chris Dunn, give me it all. Jamal Murray will be a game time decision Tuesday. Wish we had that with Fox.
Marketing, by the way, speaking of usage, like look at the guys he's playing with. He's going to take all the shots versus San Antonio. He's an awesome play. That now maybe some of his ownership is going to get shuffled to Sabonis because Sabonis getting more usage in the absence of Fox. Marketing at just 13% against San Antonio. I know people want to say just a blowout, but this is a game where he can put like 40 real points in the bucket. Playing alongside, Kessler is not a big shooter, obviously. Agbaji is just a catch and shoot, like 3-pointer guy, but he's not a big usage guy. I think Markkanen is an awesome tournament play. If you want to play that angle, and how much Jazz is too much Jazz because THT looks great as well, and of course Kessler, the price has come up, but still, I think there's a little bit of meat in that bone. And Olynyk is perfectly fine too. Like all these Jasmine look really, really solid versus the Spurs.
Jasmine.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that the plural?
I liked it. That was good. That was funny. I don't think that's the plural, but I liked it anyways.
I just drafted Jazz Chisholm. Some people pronounce that differently. I saw Chop's name pop up in chat, but that is how you pronounce the man's name, Jazz Chisholm. And I guess that's on my mind or something like that. I'm doing some best ball stuff with baseball. How about the Spurs? Do you like any Spurs?
I like all of them a little bit. Keldon Johnson, I don't mind getting to a little bit today. Charles Bassey in tournaments, I think, is very, very interesting. He's in the same position he was the other night, and I loved him a lot as well. And then he just picked up like 6 fouls in 15 minutes. But he's a great point per minute producer. This game could get sloppy. And they're still without Kem Birch. They're still without Isaiah Roby. He's the only backup center. He's going to split the 48 with Zach Collins. If Zach Collins gets in foul trouble, Bassey could be in for a big day today. So he's somebody that I'm going to be interested in. And then guys like Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins, I don't mind either. Jeremy Sohan is my favorite.
For my own sanity, you're not playing more than like 5% Bassey, are you?
Probably like 10 to 15.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Do you have any rules with him? Like maybe if you play Bassey, you wouldn't play Markkanen or something like that? Or there's no rules?
Just on the Spurs, because it doesn't have to be a blowout for Bassey to play extended minutes. It can just be Zach Collins foul trouble. And in addition to that, he's a guy that could put up 30 fantasy points in 18 minutes today.
Yeah, he's a good fantasy point minute player for sure. What is he precisely in the season? Now I'm curious. 1.15 DK, 1.15. I'm sorry, 1.15 DK, 1.2 on Fanduel.
Hit the like button as well, because as it states on our screen that's up right now, 100 likes before the Crunch Time crew gets here, or Dean and TJ lose their jobs. We're both really good at this. You don't want us to lose our jobs.
Well,
that's what the graphic says right now. And I mean, that's not good because I'm usually the one who hosts Grinders Live when you're not here. And so it is not going to be good if we both lose our jobs. So there's like 500 of you watching right now. Let's hit that like button. Hit the like or take a hike, as Roth would say.
Or ride a bike. Who's third in line? If you can't go and I can't go, then who's going to host all of a sudden?
I don't know. Will?
I don't know. Yeah, Will. We can give Will a call.
Will, I feel like doesn't host often, but he's very good at it when he does it. So I think it's Will.
He brings the sound bites. If not the music, he probably we get demonetized when he's on the show. Who knows? He's playing some music in the background for a few seconds too long. Hey, Dame Lillard's getting 20% ownership, and again, this ownership stuff we got to refresh it because the new stuff with Sacramento is going to change things up. Pool, for what it's worth, 1% on the other side. The Warriors not getting much at all in that game, right? We're getting 8% for Dante DiVincenzo. Clay is just, it's hard to get there at 8K. I understand we've seen his upside games. In part, that was against Houston. We can't really assume he's going to hit 12 threes once again. It's Dame and Dame only, really, in this game for me. As far as Portland and Golden State, I did not introduce it. We're short in time, but your quick thoughts as far as Portland Golden State?
I'm going to try and get Dame in nearly half of my lineups. He's my second favorite spend up after Sabonis. Jeremy Grant, Cam Reddish are just guys that I'm going to be sprinkling into my lineups. And then on the Golden State side, I really like Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson for tournaments, trying to get like 10% of each of those guys, make sure I'm quite over the field. And then Draymond and DiVincenzo are guys that I'm just kind of like keeping in my pool, but not trying to force into my lineups.
Minnesota and the Clippers, 233 is the total. The Clippers are 6-point favorites. This is, well, I was going to say it's your hammer game. I suppose it's a dual-prong hammer because there's two games at 10 o'clock. The aforementioned Portland Golden State game, now the Minnesota Clipper game. This game, I don't think is going to get much ownership at all. Gobert is back from his illness, so Minnesota basically fully healthy. Noel is questionable for what it's worth. And Ivica Zubac is questionable for the Clippers. They do have a worthy backup if they need one. They do historically, the Clippers like to mess with Gobert and go small at him. We'll see how Minnesota reacts. But, we saw the experiment with Westbrook is in there. Played 25 minutes last game. I believe did not close, though, for what it's worth. So played a bunch of minutes early, did not close. They had that completely insane game against Sacramento. They went double overtime. They put up like 350 combined, give or take. I don't have a lot in this game. I don't think ownership in general is going to be gravitating to Minnesota and the Clippers. What say you?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to either. That's why I think on the Minnesota side, Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert, they're both fine tournament plays. Anthony Edwards, I think, is a very interesting tournament plays. And then on the other side of this one, George, Leonard, and Russell Westbrook, I think all three of them are in play. Wouldn't want to play George and Leonard together, but I do think both of them are pretty interesting for tournaments.
Nobody getting more than 6% ownership on DK. Give me your favorite play on the slate. Crunch Time Crew coming in a second. Favorite play or favorite? You have a little game stack. Is that something you're doing on a 10 game, or is there a game that's sticking out for you? That Sacramento OKC one looks a little juicier now that Fox is out. I don't want to answer the question for you, but what do you have for me?
Lock button for Chris Dunn, 50% Sabonis, 50% Damian Lillard, then just getting a ton of other Sacramento, Utah, San Antonio, OKC, Laker pieces.
Monk or Beasley? Who do you prefer as far as Monk or Beasley? I think the answer is Monk for me.
Monk, but they're both great plays.
Do we think Luka or Trey will be optimal tonight?
No.
You don't. You hate Luka. You just like throw that game like it's not even happening. You put it in a forest, that Dallas game. Does not make a sound.
In my 20 lineups, do I not have Luka at all? That's possible. I may not have any Luka. Oh no, I got 5%. So I have Luka in one of my 20 lineups only.
But you're gonna shuffle up again, right? Have you been doing it on the fly while the show's been going?
I've been doing it on the fly as the show's been going, and then I'll shuffle up again here later on. But as it stands right now, so I'm doing 20 in the $4 contest on DraftKings, and then I'm doing 300 in the two different 50-cent contests. So I'll have a lot more Luka in the 50-cent ones, but in the $4 ones, I only got him in one of 20.
Ownership refreshed as of 6:41. So I assume this has the Sacramento stuff baked in. Let's see the Sacramento stuff, how much it changed. Monk is now 20%. Davion Mitchell at 14%. Sabonis at 13%. I think Sabonis is going to get higher than that. Do you agree?
I do agree, but I hope not. I got 75% of them right now.
Yeah, I hope.
There's Roth. I was saying I see two of our friendly co-hosts here, but I was missing the third one.
I'm just a little I think we're supposed to meet at like 45 after, but then get brought in 5 minutes later. But I don't know. I don't even understand. But I'm here. Hello.
Well, the time change is also. I can't do the math. It's like I don't understand when you guys are supposed to knock on the door for a 7 o'clock start, but 7:30. That's a whole different conversation. How do we? I went to UCF, Roth, so I don't. I did not major in mathematics. I
went to FSU. It's no better. So I'm with you, man.
We're still wondering if Florida has an education system. We're trying to figure it out. I made that joke earlier in the show, and we still haven't figured it out.
Yeah. Well, where did Tim and Keith go? Do they want to one up us? Like, can they top Florida State and UCF? Maybe, possibly.
Probably.
Hard knocks, Dean. Hard knocks.
School of hard knocks. Let's go.
Northern Illinois for me.
The Salukis?
Huskies. Southern Illinois is the Salukis. Yep.
University of Maine Black Bear.
You went to school with cards?
I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fun fact: Cards and I actually grew up like 20 minutes apart from each other in rural northern Illinois.
I've never heard this before. Were you guys talking in secret, like in your own little world, for the last like 10 years, DFS wise? Or you guys met in RG or what?
No, I met Cards for the first time when I joined RG in 2020. So it was just cool when I saw his hometown. I'm like, wow, that's like 20 minutes away from where I grew up.
Real random.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you grew up on like a farm too?
I did.
I assume you grew up on a farm. I don't know why. Is that not
you
a
assume
fair assumption?
You assume correct.
Well, I thought that was so offensive when you said that, and then he just goes, "Yeah, I did." That's okay.
I don't mean that.
I think Dean was trying to be offensive, but it didn't work out.
No, there's nothing wrong with farming. I appreciate crops. All right.
I moved away as quickly as possible, so I'm not offended by that.
I meant no farm slander. TJ, big slander against the farmers. You got to talk to him off air. He's got a whole diatribe about it. Anything else?
Yeah, that's basically 90% of Saskatchewan's economy is the farmers. So I'll make fun of Florida education, but I'll hold my tongue on that one.
Fair enough. You got anything else for people before we step aside and make way for the crunch time?
Lock button, Chris Dunn. Don't be afraid of the ownership.
I'm just going to throw the grenade at Keith and Tim. TJ is playing 300 lineups. Now, don't get suspicious. He's two different contests. Let's not make any controversy. 300 lineups, and he's hitting the lock button on Chris Dunn. To my understanding, he's not been in the league for more than like a week. How do we feel about that? You guys discuss in your 35 minutes, 40 minutes, all the way up the lock. I'm going to yield to Roth, myself, and TJ. We bid you adieu. And we're going to get a couple more likes before Roth collects the next ones. But hit that like button, and Roth, take it away.
Appreciate it. Good stuff. As always, gentlemen. Welcome to it. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by FanDuel. And shout out to Wave Makers, who says, I don't know what the guy gets paid, but we need to give a higher salary for TJ. Hey, TJ's burner is up and active there. So good job. No, TJ does excellent work, as does Dino. Good stuff. But gentlemen, this is the moment they've been waiting for. This is it's the moment that will bring you up to and then through lock, breaking news, all the fun stuff. I'm kind of thrown off by the fact that there's so many games and yet we still didn't have a normal starting time frame, right? That was weird.
Yeah, a little bit. Like usually when we have the weird start times, it's a short, like 3 or 4 game slate. But yeah, for a massive slate to start a half an hour later than usual, very odd.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of messing with me. But it doesn't matter when it starts. All that matters is that by the time the night's over, we're all making money. And in order to do that, we got 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got Ice, who I think is going to be our cash guy, but maybe I'm making that up.
Tim has been doing cash, but I'm good with either way.
I can do cash. I can do cash.
Okay. We got Tim bringing in the cash. Tim, how are you?
Good. Yeah, definitely a lot different slate than we had last night. Last night was a little bit weird, but we have a lot of options tonight and a lot of different ways we can go in cash games and in tournaments. So it's a way more fun slate than last night.
God, last night really blew my mind because all of the cheap plays that I played absolutely smashed. And then my strategy was to pay up for 3 studs. And
they did nothing.
Like they were literally outscored by the 3K guys. I was just like, I don't know what to say.
LaMelo got hurt.
And LaMelo got hurt. LaMelo got yeah. I still won somehow, but I felt like I built my single entry team like so suboptimally, but I still got like 3x my money, which was nice.
Yeah, if that's a suboptimal night, then you're doing something right for sure.
Yeah, I guess I'll take it. So.
Yeah. We got Ice in the house as well. How are you, man?
I'm well. Yeah, I had a nice overweight stance on Jimmy Butler last night, so good night for me as well. He was one of the studs that actually paid off. Didn't have any Harden though, so didn't quite bink anything. He was the other stud you kind of needed, but weird slate. Plenty of options today, like Tim mentioned.
Okay, very good. Well, we have plenty of time to dive into things, and then I kind of want to talk to you about farming and growing up on a farm, but we'll save that until after lock. Did you farm as a child? Were you like a part of farming?
So we didn't like plant crops or anything, but we grew up on like an acre or 4 acres and had horses and animals and things like that. So I
did
built
you take
hay.
care of them?
I did. which was not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I was not a fan. There's a lot of shoveling of their waste, and baling hay is not a fun exercise. But yes, I did partake in some of the farm activities.
I do feel like that really motivates you to get the hell out and like succeed in life, because you're like, I don't want to shovel shit like for an extended period of time. So that's awesome. All right, hey, we got to talk about the slate though. That's what we're here for. So let's kind of walk through it here, Tim, if you don't mind, a general overview, or you can dive right into FanDuel Cash.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of do a combination of both those things. The overview is this Utah situation. We've got Chris Dunn, who is not projected to start. He's projected for about 24 minutes. He's definitely cash game viable on both sites. I have absolutely no issue with you guys playing him. I think that you should be playing him in cash games. He's not like a high usage guy. He's not going to be like this high usage guy that we've seen in the last 2 games. That's not generally who he is, but he's a pretty strong peripherals guy. And I think he's got an incredibly safe floor for cash games. So he would be my first guy in your point guard position. But then there's a couple other point guards that I wanted to touch base with, on because it's a pretty loaded position. We got this Kings news with De'Aaron Fox out, and so Davion Mitchell at 3,700 on FanDuel. That's 800 cheaper than Dunn. See, for me, he's only point guard eligible, so I think I would reserve him for tournaments as like a pivot away from Dunn, because I want to play Damian Lillard in cash, or I want to play like Dillon Wright, or Dennis Schroeder. Or Jordan Poole. There's all these guys that I would much rather play than Davion Mitchell, even though he's rating out as like a pretty solid points per dollar play. I just think you're giving up a lot of raw points at that position. And there's just better plays, in my opinion, than Davion Mitchell for cash games anyway. Not to say you can't play him in tournaments, but for cash, that's kind of where I'm at. And then I'll let Key talk more about some tournament options. But moving to shooting guard, Talen Horton-Tucker is going to be he's shooting guard small forward again for Utah, going up against San Antonio. A couple of these Utah guys are going to absolutely crush. You should probably be having at least 2 of these guys in cash games, whether it be Dunn, Horton-Tucker, Lauri Markkanen, somewhere in that, those 3 guys, maybe even Walker Kessler. Like, this San Antonio team is so bad defensively. Like, you've got to get exposure to them in cash and GPP. So Talen Horton-Tucker, he's the starting point guard. Chris Dunn is his direct backup, or at least that's how they've been doing it. They're very, very invested in playing Horton-Tucker big minutes. So I think he's like a cash game cornerstone. And then Lou Dort, he's another shooting guard, small forward. He gets a big usage bump with no SGA. And he gets an amazing matchup against Sacramento. So he would be like my next guy in that shooting guard, small forward position. And then I think I'm just going to move over to small forward real quick. Kyle Kuzma, he's rating out as like our strongest kind of like small forward, power forward. No Porzingis today. Bradley Beal's a little bit too expensive for me on FanDuel. He's much better play on DK. But for FanDuel, I think that he would be like my starting point. And then I already mentioned Lauri Markkanen. His price is really, really good on FanDuel. So small forward, power forward, I think is a position that you can pay up at. There's also this Sabonis situation. He's power forward center on FanDuel. So again, that power forward position, I think, is a position that you can definitely pay up at today.
I'm sorry. Can
And
the Sabonis situation? I'm going to need a little more than that.
oh, just because Fox is out.
Okay.
So he's gonna get a lot more usage. And it's just an amazing matchup against Oklahoma City. So Sabonis should absolutely, he should really crush today. He's gonna be the featured guy with no De'Aaron Fox. So the rest of this Sacramento team is just, they're really not like high usage guys. So Sabonis is gonna be like the guy today. And the matchup is amazing. So I think he is definitely cash game viable. And I think it's kind of like interesting because I really wanted to get to Lauri Markkanen all day today on FanDuel, and now I'm kind of like, well, maybe I should pay the extra 1,000 and just get the Sabonis. And if there are builds where you can get to both of them, then I think you should do it. But it's tough because there are these big time studs. Like, you want to play Damian Lillard, you want to play Jokic, obviously at center, but salary cap's a thing. So I don't think you should be playing Jokic in cash. As weird as that seems, like he's just too expensive at 12-2. So I think that like a guy like Daniel Gafford, 6,000 would probably be my preferred choice for cash games. This might be more of like a tournament thing, but like Zach Collins as like a run back with all this Utah chalk, he might be more like a single entry play, but he's power forward center at 6,800. I have a lot of interest in him. And then Walker Kessler, cash games or tournaments, I think he's a really good play, but I think you need to limit. I think you should limit up to 3 Jazz. I wouldn't play 4 Jazz tonight in cash. So pick between Dunn, Horton Tucker, Lauri, and Kessler.
Okay, very good. Let's talk some tournaments, and for that, we kick it on over to the Iceman. Is some of this chalk? Like, are you getting off of some of these plays, like THT or Dunn, or are you just like, nah, I'm just whatever? I'll be 100%. So be it.
Yeah, 100% is aggressive, but it is all really good chalk. We have like 4 or 5 situations with significant injuries and a ton of players just way underpriced. I think it probably makes the most sense just to kind of go through them individually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my biggest strategy is because they're chalk. My favorite way to get different is to include a run back from on the other side, from the opposing team with low owned guys. So, for example, the Lakers are one of these teams. LeBron is out. D'Angelo Russell is out. Russell Westbrook has been traded away. Nobody's playing John Morant or Desmond Bane, or very few people. Like, they're going to be much lower owned than the Lakers chalk. So run that back with tournament guys on the other side. Washington, no Porzingis, no Monte Morris. So you've got Kuzma grading out, great. Beal is okay, better on DraftKings, like Tim mentioned. Gafford very much in play. But nobody's playing Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. So great option to just play 2 Washington guys, run that back with a Trae Young or a DeJounte Murray. So that's the overall how I'm building my teams today.
Okay.
This Utah situation, very interesting. The THT Chris Dunn thing is, like Tim touched on it briefly. Chris Dunn has been THT's direct backup to this point so far. So that has me a little concerned about the upward mobility on his minutes. If, however, they were to start alongside of one another, then Chris Dunn goes to the moon, and he would be an absolute lock button at that point. So the Jazz lineup is something I am keeping an eye on. We currently have Dunn to continue coming off the bench and playing that backup point guard role with no overlap with THT. But if he does overlap with THT, he becomes an even better play, and he's already grading out amazing.
Gotcha.
The Denver situation, Jamal Murray is one of the last pieces of news we're still waiting on. He's questionable. Jokic would get a big bump if he is out. I'm also including guys like Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon in my pool, just anticipating Jamal Murray potentially being out. I think that's a great way to get those guys much lower owned than they should be. So I want to make sure I'm able to get overweight on them. and then running it back with a guy on Houston. Jalen Green is coming back, but Kevin Porter Jr. is still listed questionable, and Jayshawn Tate is out. So I think you can play Jalen Green, you can play Şengün, and if KPJ gets ruled out as well, you can go even deeper on Houston. So definitely paying attention to that situation as well.
Şengün's scary though. I mean, he's basically gotten benched the last 2 games for his defense. But it's because he could help them win, and they don't want that. But are you worried about that, or you're just like, whatever, you take 10% of them and call it a day?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not more than like a 10% play. It is concerning, especially with Jokic on the other side. Like, not a good matchup anyway. Foul trouble is a huge risk. Like, I definitely prefer Jalen Green to Şengün.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. We've got all the time in the world, so let's kick it on over to DK and kind of meander our way through a build over there. A few differences, I guess, some pricing differences, but Tim, why don't you walk us through it?
Yeah, the big thing is Davion Mitchell has point guard, shooting guard on DK, so he's a little bit more valuable. The other thing I want to touch on, I'm glad Keith brought it up, and that was my bad for not bringing it up for cash. Like, if Jamal Murray sits, Bruce Brown is definitely in the cash game conversation on both sides. And you should have enough flexibility in your lineups the way that the times are, that you should be able to, like, pretty easily pivot to him. So I'm glad that was my bad. I should have brought that up. But yes, you can play Bruce Brown in cash because he's pretty affordable on both sites, and he'll be a really good play.
But you're only playing him if Murray sits.
Yes,
you're not playing him otherwise.
Correct. Yeah, but he's very, very gettable, and he's going to be pretty easy to pivot to. So I'm glad that Keith brought that up. So yeah. Yeah, again, it's Chris Dunn in cash easily. Doesn't matter if he starts or not. Rated out as a 7.5 points per dollar value right now, which is best on the slate. Same names basically on FanDuel. Again, it's, do you want to pay up for Dame? Do you want to go more balanced with like Delon Wright? Honestly, I think I want to go Dunn and Dame. He's not going to keep this crazy pace up, but it's
been like a month and a half now of like
I know, but you remember when Luka was going for 80 every game, then all of a sudden he just these guys do hit a wall eventually, but but yeah, I still think that I think my build is going to be like Don and Dame for like the point guard position, and then I think it's kind of interesting, like, you can go Malik Beasley or Malik Monk, Isaiah Joe, another interesting play at shooting guard. Bradley Beal, if you want to go more balanced, I think is super, super interesting. He's definitely in the cash game conversation. Talen Horton-Tucker, again, probably be my most preferred choice. He's probably better suited at small forward, but you can definitely put him in the shooting guard position if you want. Lou Dort for small forward. I really like Dort today. I like him on both sites. Kyle Kuzma. It all kind of depends on what you want, like what you want to do with these super high end guys. Because there's some really, really good balance builds that you can do. Like you can do like Kuzma, Beal, Dort. Like, some of these mid-range guys are really, really good today. So, it's kind of like I think for me the cash game build is a little bit like, for me it's a little bit more stars and scrubs, just because I really want to play Dame. So I think I'm going to go a little bit more stars and scrubs. And then the other thing is, another difference is Sabonis is only center eligible on DK, where he's power forward center on FanDuel. So he's a little bit, like, the opportunity cost is a little bit different for him. And I think that, like, Jokic is a little bit easier to get. So, like, my cash game team right now has Dame and Jokic, and it's pretty easy. Like, it's not that bad. So when I'm looking at Jokic and Dame and I can get to them in cash games, I kind of want to do that. But there are other ways that you can you can go a little bit lower and place the bonus. You could play Walker Kessler. You could pay down for Daniel Gafford. Who's only 4,500. So there's a few different ways to go. But I really like going like the Dame and Jokic route today for cash, and then getting these really, really cheap guards. And of course, there's Jared Vanderbilt, who's only 4,100. Don't play him at center. He's much better for power forward position.
Okay, very good. Let's talk tournaments. And Ice, if you don't mind starting with spend ups. Like, I know where the value is. I know THT and Dunn and Schroeder and those dudes. But I'm looking at all of these great plays, like Giannis, Luka, Jokic, Dame, Davis, Ja. Like, there's a ton of these guys, and I don't know who I'm supposed to play.
Yeah, I mean, there's several great options, like you mentioned. I would say Anthony Davis is probably right now my favorite. If Jamal Murray gets ruled out, it's going to be Jokic. But Davis without LeBron, tougher matchup against Memphis, but he's had over a 32% usage rate with LeBron and Westbrook off the floor this season. Small sample, but I mean, you can see how that would continue. As long as the Lakers can keep this one semi-close, AD should smash here. Damian Lillard, like Tim mentioned, definitely in the conversation as well. Dude's just been putting up 40 points a night and 70 on some nights. Don't see any reason.
I'm sorry, Murray's in. Sorry, Keith.
Okay. Nope.
Yeah, Murray's in.
Big news we were waiting on, so appreciate that.
Yep.
Unfortunately, have to lower the Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon exposure a little bit now in my build. But yeah, so Jokic, Lillard, Davis would be my top three. Luka is tough to get to with Kyrie there now. Giannis is dealing with multiple injuries. He's left both of the last games early with injury. Like a 6% owned Giannis is extremely tempting, but there is a lot of risk there. Brooklyn's a better defensive team now with the pieces that they've added. But like, if you want to do it, it's hard to argue against 6% owned Giannis. John Morant, one of my favorites as a run back on the other side of Lakers chalk. Sabonis is in a fantastic spot with no De'Aaron Fox. OKC struggles against bigs. Just a great spot for him. I'm playing a lot of Trae Young because I'm running that back on the other side of Washington chalk. Lauri Markkanen in a great spot with the best matchup in basketball. Like the list just goes on and on. All of these guys are just in fantastic spots.
Okay, and did you still have Jokic as your favorite spend up? Did you start at Jokic even though
I don't like him as much with Murray in, but he's definitely still in play. I mean, he's got Houston tonight.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, we saw Dame showed us what you can do against Houston. So,
yes.
Okay. Anything that you want to walk through here? I kind of just forced you right to the spend ups, but anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that was a good conversation there. Important. We had talked about a bunch of value. I think we covered most of what I've wanted to talk about. Just overall strategy of using run backs, like using 2 or 3 pieces of chalk from one of these value teams and then running that back with a stud on the other side, hoping that the cheap chalk guys go crazy, keep the game close, and then the stud can pay it off on the other side.
Okay, very good. Real quick, center position. A ton of the names you mentioned are spend ups. Do you have any? What was it, like Vanderbilt or
Gafford?
I think Gafford was the name that I wanted to ask about. Yeah.
Yeah, love Gafford. I have plenty of AD as well. Jokic, obviously, but yes, Gafford. Let's see here. Yeah, Vanderbilt very much in play as well with that shorthanded Lakers team. Walker Kessler, another one that I really like. Kelly Olynyk, I think, is a fantastic pivot off of some of the other Utah chalk. He's going to be much lower owned. Same with Walker Kessler. And then Miles Turner. Like, don't love the matchup against Dallas. They're a slow-paced team, but he has a pretty decent ceiling. You can certainly play him.
All right, very good. That gives us basically all the time in the world here. We've got 17 minutes for some QQs before lock. Tim, is there anything that you want to add here before we start just diving into it?
No, not for cash. I think I've covered it. That I kind of like the more stars and scrub type build for cash games tonight. There, like I said, there is a balanced way you can go about it, but I prefer going double stud tonight.
Okay. Very good. Hey, one thing that we didn't know is that this show is sponsored by FanDuel. Make sure you're signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their fantastic bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1K. I know this because I did this, and then I just made all the money, and it was glorious. So you should be doing that as well. Just bet Jalen Brunson overs, and, I like your chances. And then the FanDuel Single Entry Series still going. Reserve your spot in the NBA Block Contest. That is still happening, so make sure you're jumping in that as well. Let's dive into some of the QQs, and I will start, as always, on the little RG Discord where all the cool kids are hanging out. And I'm going to scroll up just a wee bit. Okay, let's start with Joey Rock. Scroll up a little more than that. Fit Crook says, DK Cash, you want Dort Dunn or Beasley Vanderbilt?
Dort done, definitely.
Very good. This appears to be a 3v3 for FanDuel Cash. He says I can go Brown instead of Monk if Murray sits, which isn't happening now.
Right.
Yeah. So the 3v3 was Gafford, Markkanen, Jay Williams, or AD, Tybal, and Monk.
The first one.
All right. Ice, DK, GPP, last piece to play with Lillard and Sabonis. Reddish, Barnes, or Keegan Murray? Yeah.
I would go Keegan Murray there. I think he has decent upside. Reddish is interesting, but Dame has just been shooting so much. But I don't hate Reddish either.
Okay. This is a DK Cash question, and one side of this feels like a tournament build, but it is Beal, Kuz, Gafford, or AD, Joe, and Dort.
Oh. Yeah, that is interesting. Man, that's pretty good. It is feel like kind of a tournament, but I don't want to play three. I guess you could play three. I'd go the first one. It feels weird to play three Wizards and Cash, but I think you can do it.
And Ice, can you do that build in a tournament? Play those three Wizards and Cash, and I don't even know who the hell they're playing, but I assume there's a bring back there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's like my entire strategy today. Run that back with Trae Young, and that's exactly how I'm building my teams.
Very good. Okay, nice. Back to the QQs. FanDuel GPP, Cameron Johnson or Eason?
Ooh, both are good. Both put up a lot per minute. Cam Thomas with a tougher matchup against Milwaukee. I would say it's slightly both are in tough spots, but I'll lean slightly to Eason.
All right. I'm trying to find out my spends ups right now as I do this. All right. Claxton. Raymond says Claxton been doing okay. That's what he typed, which made me laugh. Tim, Claxton been doing okay.
I wouldn't do it for Cash. Tournaments is fine, but Cash.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good game last time out. I think it's tougher for him to hit the ceiling with all the changes there. I'd rather take shots on Mikal Bridges, but he's fine if you want to go there.
Okay. Steve O says, what's up with the Hawks center situation and now add in a new coach? Do we just ignore it? Ice, catch me up and let me know what your thoughts are.
So Quinn Snyder, first game coaching for Atlanta after McMillan was fired. Okongwu has been getting quite a bit of run off the bench and actually playing as many or more minutes than Capella in a lot of games. Because of the coaching change, it's not something I need to mess with on a massive slate.
Okay.
Just wait and see what happens.
Yep. All right. FanDuel GPP, Ice, you prefer, or who would you prioritize was the question, Dame or AD?
Tough question. I have slightly more AD, but I mean, they're both phenomenal.
Okay. FanDuel single entry, how many studs?
I would go 2 studs.
FanDuel Cash, Tim, Wright, Dort, or Monk and Denny?
Right, Dort.
Ice, in a FanDuel large field GPP, even though you might not be playing them, do you feel like guys like Claxton and Triple J could be ways to get different without being crazy? Their style of play with blocks and rebounds fits the FanDuel scoring, of course.
Yes. Both big per minute guys. Don't think there's anything wrong with that strategy at all.
Very nice. Roto Tua says, DK Cash, who are your must plays from the Wizards?
Kuzma would be my first guy in out of the Wizards. Then Gafford, then Beal. That's how I'd rank them. Then Denny.
All right. Tim, you want to help me with my lineup? Because I have Zach LaVine in, and I don't think I want to do that. 8,800. DK,
Yeah.
8,800 at the forward spot.
Small forward.
It just forward in general.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good spot to be. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't think that's a very good spot to be in. I actually kind of like DeMar tonight. Why don't you just play Clay and hope he goes for like an insane game?
That's actually what I was thinking about doing.
Yeah, why don't you just do that?
He hits 15 threes or whatever. Yeah,
Clay would be my favorite player.
Like I know that you just want to have these outlier performances, so I mean, just go with Clay. Like he doesn't project well, but we know that he has a monster ceiling. Why don't you just go for that?
Right, he could literally hit 23s. All right,
right.
Okay, that works for me. FanDuel. Oh, sorry. DKGPP, Murray or Reddish?
Keegan Murray, that must be because of price. Lean slightly to Murray.
FanDuel GPP, Ice, your top 3 studs. Actually, he said Ice, man. Your top 3 studs of the night?
Top 3. If we're considering Sabonis a stud, I would go AD, Lillard, Sabonis.
DKGPP, Davis, Gafford, that sounds good. Or Sabonis, Schroeder, that sounds good. I don't know. Those sound great.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm not too worried about ownership. There's so many decisions like that and they're both fantastic. For me, slightly the second one, but it's a coin flip.
Okay. DKGPP, Kessler or Pirtle?
Kessler.
Is Pirtle still dominating, or did I miss a few games where he finally fell off?
I think he's fallen off a little bit.
The last time I played him, he dropped me 50+ fantasy points.
Yeah, he's been closer to 40 the last 2, but he's still playing really well. But the price is adjusting too. He's really expensive on FanDuel. 8,400 on FanDuel. Still $6K on DK though. You can play him there for sure.
Okay, all right. DK Cash, Tim, AD, Beasley, Dort, or Beal, Kuz, Gafford. There's that Beal, Kuz, Gafford.
Yeah. Man, I think I'm gonna stick with my Wizards.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Ice, how about any love for the Zohan in a FanDuel GPP? That's Sochan.
So I'm running back Utah, but it's uncomfortable because San Antonio is not great. Trey Jones is another questionable guy that we are still waiting on, unless I've broken the last couple minutes. I would rather find a way to get to Keldon or Zach Collins even. But if you just absolutely need the salary, it's fine.
All right.
I mean, Utah's a fantastic matchup. So
yeah. We still have 7 minutes. I feel like I'm rushing for no good reason. DKGPP, how viable is Isaiah Joe tonight? And is there someone better for that 4,400 price tag? I've already got Vanderbilt and Keegan.
4,400 on DK. That's going to be very viable is the answer. No SGA, so lots of usage to go around in Oklahoma City. Let's see here. Let me update my salary to hear that 4,400. Did he specify if it was positionally? Is it a util spot?
He didn't say, so I'm assuming util.
It sounds like it's a util question.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's another fantastic option in that range. He's catching quite a bit of ownership as well. Tari Eason we discussed, if you want somebody a lot lower owned.
Okay. I'm going to jump into the YouTube chat really quick, take a couple of these questions. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. It's free content. It's 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz and me. Let's see. Adam says, DK, and I'll give this to you, $3,200 left for a guard or a forward not named Davion Mitchell. So we're dumpster diving here.
All right, 3,200. Troy Brown certainly in play for the Lakers, as shorthanded as they are. it gets pretty ugly. Yeah, I think Troy Brown is the pivot.
Okay, Ice, right back to you. Is THT a must play at his price on DK? Like, what percent ownership do you have of him?
Let me see here. I don't think he's. Yeah, actually, I do think he's a must play at 30%. Like, there's so many great plays. Like, 30% owned is not enough. I'm at like 55%.
Okay. And then this question kind of ties into it, which is, which top values should I avoid, or are you willing to avoid? This is a FanDuel GPP question, which is a little different.
All right.
I didn't feel like you were. I feel like you weren't really trying to avoid those values.
Yeah, there's no one I'm really avoiding. It's more spreading out, like as the field is doing. Like it's so spread out. Like THT is a guy I want to be under. Schroeder is a guy, or over rather, on THT. I misspoke there. Schroeder's a guy I want to be over. Malik Monk I want to be over. Chris Dunn is the one that's it's hard. Like just because of the minutes thing. I think like his cap, if he's not going to share the court with THT, his cap is like 25, 26 minutes. So I'm not over on Chris Dunn. I'm right at the field. But I think you could get aggressive and take an underweight stance there. Yeah, I mean, those are kind of the top guys: THT, Dunn, Schroeder, Monk, Wright, all excellent plays. I'm not trying to short any of them. Dort.
Okay. All right. Very good. We'll go to AJ back in the RG Discord here. DK Cash. This is a 3v3 for you, Tim. Mitchell, Schroeder, Jokic, or AD, Monk, and Gafford?
The first one.
Jay Sam says, FanDuel GPP Ice. He says, keep in mind, I have Dame and Tybalt in this lineup and Triple J. But the question is, Tillman, Abdia. Oh, it's Tillman, Abdia, or Eubanks.
So I would not play Tillman with Triple J. So that's the reason he included that. Abdia and Eubanks. I would go Abdia.
Okay, nice. DK Cash question, Tim. Kelly O is a last piece.
DK, they said.
Yes, DK Cash.
I guess so. Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
Yep.
Ice, this is kind of a good question. Can you play THT and Dunn together? Like you said, you're not avoiding either guy necessarily, but how much of that can you lump in together?
I think you can play them together just because they're so far underpriced. Like Dunn is almost minimum price. I think there's a chance that they could run a little bit on the court together too, which we haven't seen, but there is potential for that. So I'd be fine with them both together.
Okay, very good. We've got about 3-4 minutes until lock here. Steve O just says Terrence Davis. I don't know who he's asking, but
not for cash, but I think he'd be like maybe all right for like a large field GPP play. What do you think, Keith?
Yeah, I think he's in play. Never know what the rotation is going to look like. Just because Mitchell's starting doesn't mean he's going to play the most minutes.
Right. Okay. Homie T says FanDuel large field GPP, Giddy or Poole?
Like them both. Poole.
Ball, DK Cash, Beasley, or your boy Joe?
That's so close. I guess Joe. That's really close, though.
Okay. Jumping back into the YouTube. By the way, if you're watching the YouTube, hit the thumbs up. We got 2 minutes until lock here. Scrolling up just a wee bit. FanDuel Cash, Monk, or Slow-Mo?
I think Slow-Mo is a better cash game play.
And to be clear, that's Kyle Anderson. Sometimes I say these nicknames as if literally.
I know who Slow-Mo is. Definitely.
I know you do. For everybody else.
Okay.
I know you. It's
yeah.
I should probably.
Actually, let me change that answer to that question. I guess I'm looking at projections, and I guess Monk is projected quite a bit better. So I guess I'd go Monk.
Okay. DK Cash, Schroeder v. Monk v. Beasley. It's Schroeder, right? Isn't it?
For cash, I think it is. Yep.
Yeah. Best play for 5K in a DK GPP. Is that also Schroeder? He
He's
didn't
the
say
best on paper
position.
play. If you're looking for lower ownership, let me see here. Let me sort. Let's see the ownership. I would go Isaiah Joe. If it's a guard, if you have util, it's Daniel Gafford.
Okay, nice. Kid Catastrophe says FanDuel GPP contrarian. He didn't really specify beyond that. So I guess my question will be, what's your favorite contrarian play? Or do you not need to go contrarian because there's so many good plays that things are spread out?
Yeah, so the way I'm getting different is by playing the lower owned guys on the other side of the chalk. So Trae Young is probably my favorite example of that. I really like Jalen Green for Houston. Let's see, John Morant, Desmond Bane for Memphis, Keldon Johnson for Utah, other side of Utah. Like just things like that. Those are the lower owned guys that I have the most exposure to.
Very good. Flying Armbar says, any games that you want to avoid entirely? Ice, are there any games that you're just yeah?
Chicago, Toronto is rough.
I don't have much interest in Milwaukee, Brooklyn, other than maybe like Giannis.
Yeah, I mean we're talking like some 5% type plays in each, but nothing outside of that. Indy, Dallas, I don't love. Minnesota, Clippers, I don't love. There's a lot of them. I'm attacking the value spots.
I was gonna say there's like a few games that I would have no interest in large field. So.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. We have hit the lock, and I'll ask a couple of these questions. I don't know if they're still relevant, but Freya says DK Cash, Kelly O, Beasley, or Monk Schroeder.
Monk Schroeder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Hey guys, if you're watching this on the YouTube, you know what to do. There's a little thumbs up, you push it, it changes colors. It's fun. It makes a noise sometimes. I highly recommend you do it. We are going to bounce on out of here. We have hit the lock. I feel good about my lineup. I just need Klay Thompson to splash 18 threes and I will win all the money. So for Ice, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.